DJ Metal Craig of Craig's Metal from here. I have one of the members of Alpha Destroyer with me today. Hey, how's it going? And would you like to introduce yourself and what position you do in the band?
Hey, what's up, DJ Metal Craig? Yeah, I'm Eric Sexton Dorset. I kind of created, or at least started, the formation of Alpha Destroyer. I play guitar and primary songwriter for the band.
Right on. Please go back in the history of Alpha Destroyer and how the band all got started.
Well, the band it's kind of a trip, dude. I mean, this band formed out of the Monsters of Rock cruise. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, out of Miami,
No, I'm not.
but
I'm sorry to say.
oh yeah, well, I mean, it's a cool, cool hard rock cruise. A lot of bands out of Scandinavia and stuff play on it, but which is always cool because it's an opportunity to see those bands we don't get to see much here in the States. But a few years ago on the cruise, I met Kelly Lemieux from Buck Cherry. His band was playing, of course, on the cruise, and turns out we live real close to each other here in Portland, Oregon. So, you know, he and I became friends and talking shit about music all the time and that kind of thing, and kind of threatened to do some music together down the road. So yeah, I had a few songs together, and I didn't really know what I was going to do with them because my band Sleepless, I could have used them, but I felt like they were going to fit for something else. I just didn't know what it was yet. I brought in my drum instructor because I've been taking drum lessons for like 3 years, which has helped me a lot in songwriting and producing. But my drum instructor is a complete machine. So I brought him in to play on these songs I'd written, and they came out so killer that I was like, I need to call Kelly up. He's like really the only guy that could make this come to life as far as bass goes. So he came in and put the bass down, and I'm like, from there, I ended up listening to it every day while I was lifting weights. Like, wow, I can jam to this. This is killer. And it's kind of those songs kind of hung out for a while. 2024 on that same Monsters of Rock cruise, I started talking with Martin Sweet from Crash Diet. I'm a fan of Crash Diet, so just we got to rapping about music and everything. And a couple months down the road, we connected through Instagram, and I sent him those three songs just to have him put some leads on them. See, get a little different flavor on these things. And he really dug the songs and asked if I thought it'd be cool for him to try singing on them. And so, of course, that was a no brainer because the guy writes melodies like nobody's business. So I was like, hell yeah. So, we first song he did was Straight Into the Grind, which was our first or second single, I guess, for this record. And, I just was in love with it right away. So I just knew we were onto something cool. My singer from my band, Sleepless, Kevin Hahn, who's also owns Opal Studios, where I record every week. He's like co-writer with me, co-producer. Brought him in on lead guitar too for Alpha Destroyer, so that fleshed out the lineup. And you know, three songs turned into four, turned into five. Martin threw in a song that's killer. Kelly threw in a song that's killer, and next thing you know, we've got a 10-song album, and here we are.
And just before we get into the next question, I wanted to let you know I actually jammed the album before the interview, and it's absolutely sick and awesome, buddy.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
My favorite song is track five. I just don't remember the name of the song off the top of my head right now.
Shit. Track five. I wish I knew off the top of my head. That's I should have this memorized. I've had to send this stuff out so many emails. I think by now I'd have it all down. But yeah, I wish I knew which one it was. I could pull it up, but it would take us time. Well, cool though. That's great. I mean, that's the thing about music, right? In the old days, you put the needle on the record and listen through, and you kind of everybody had their own their own favorites. And in particularly in hard rock and heavy metal, when it wasn't on the radio, you didn't really have the hit song. So it was just whatever was the one that resonated the most with you. So I'm always excited to hear what people find as their favorite song. As long as they like it, I'm happy. As long as you guys like the record, great. And then pick your favorites. You have to message me later and let me know what your favorite was.
Okay. I just want to also let you know that I'm one of the old school guys that likes to listen to an album fully through and not basically bash any track. I like to find out how well balanced the album is, what progression from beginning to end.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's interesting. I was talking to someone the other day, and they were talking about how they just listened to the first Black Sabbath album all the way through. And so I'm like, well, that's just weird for me because when I bought that record, you played the first side and you played the second side just the way we did it. But we listen to things differently now. It's like, oh, I know this song, and then you fast forward past the next one. Maybe years later you find out that was the Diamond in the Rough. It's your favorite tune of all time. So it can happen that way too. But in our house we still put records on the turntable and try to explore new music all the time. Keeps it fresh.
Right on. And I want to say one more thing before we get into the next question. I need to rest in peace, Ozzy Osbourne. I miss the guy.
Yeah,
My favorite song that he did was No More Tears off the No More Tears album.
that's a great song. I really haven't come to terms with his passing yet. It was kind of such a it's one of those things that like it's almost like losing like my grandfather who was like my closest male role model. Like you it takes a while to even resonate that they're gone. So it's you realize what a massive part of your life they've been. So yeah, R.I.P. Ozzy.
Okay, I'm going to get on to the next question now. How did you guys come up with the band name Alpha Destroyer?
Um, that's it. I mean, I just thought it was a cool name. My when I'm driving, lyrics come into my mind, like things just kind of pass through my brain, and I usually at a stoplight, I type it out in my phone. Sometimes I just do it while I'm driving, which isn't the safest thing, but I also own a vintage comic book company. I specialize in golden age comic books from the 30s and 40s, and in that world, my company is called Seeker's Eye Comics, and people refer to me as Seeker Alpha because I started the business. So a lot of people who buy from us has started calling me Seeker Alpha, and so I like the Alpha thing, and I just kind of meddling it up a bit, and I was like, Destroyer, Alpha Destroyer. I was like, oh, Alpha Destroyer, that's cool, and I just put it down in my phone. So it was when these songs came together. Once, like I said, once the drums were on those first three songs, and then Kelly put bass on them, I was like, yeah, this is Alpha Destroyer. It just sounds like Alpha Destroyer. This is it. Has to be the name. I had lots of other names, floating around, but they just didn't fit. You know, I had another little side project thing I was doing that's kind of like Joe Lynn Turner era Rainbow, and I was calling that one Tragic Attraction. That wouldn't fit with this band at all. Alpha Destroyer fit though great. So, I mean, I've got a thrash metal band too, and plus my other main band, Sleepless. But anyway, yeah, that's how the name came up, and it just stuck with me. I feel like it's pretty freaking metal, and also kind of it's that metal hard rock kind of crosses the line there, which is Alpha Destroyer, in a nutshell.
Right on. This next one's
Yeah.
going to be a little bit of a tricky one to answer. The lineup consists of super members from Buck Cherry, Crash Out, and your band Sleepless. How did this supergroup come about?
I mean that basically just goes back to that first question about how the band started with Monsters of Rock. I mean, it's a it in I don't know in what alternate universe this would ever happen again. You know what I mean? Like, uh, my friend Kevin I mentioned before, who's a dear friend of mine, and we work on music together all the time. We went on the Monsters of Rock cruise with like 2 weeks notice. The band Heat from Sweden was playing, and my wife was like, "You're not going to go see Heat?" And I'm like, "I'm not going to fly to Florida to go on a rock cruise to get to see Heat." And she's like, "Are they playing anywhere else in the U.S.?" I'm like, "No." It's like, "Okay, well then you should go." And it's actually pretty affordable if you go with a second person. So I messaged Kevin, and he said, "Fuck yeah, let's do it." So we went on the cruise together, and he is friends with Kelly Lemieux already. So he introduced me to Kelly. Kelly's big into the Bigfoot Sasquatch lore, and I'm into it too. So we started kind of talking about Bigfoot. more than anything. And then um, we're both sober, so while everybody else was passed out, we sat in the cafe on the ship and ate French fries and talked shit about music, all night because I can talk music nonstop. It's my religion, and Kelly has been in the music scene for so long, and he's got a million stories to tell. So that's how that started. Like, how would that ever happen again? Probably never would have. And then you know, I just Martin from Crash Diet. I had met him on the cruise. He put a Instagram post up saying that he was had some downtime and was looking to do some mixing. And I didn't have anything for him to mix, but that's why I hit him up and said, "Hey, if you're not busy, you want to play some leads on these tunes?" And then he said he wanted to sing on them. So it again, it's just it's a once in a lifetime thing. I literally have to pinch myself sometimes to you know come to terms with what we've done here, and I'm really proud of it.
Cool. That's the funny thing. The question I was going to ask you next, you already mentioned how you met Martin Sweet of Crash Diet. We can skip that one. We'll just go on to the next one, which is who designed the Alpha Destroyer band logo?
Logo. Oh, the logo was Christoph Speidel. I That's the best I can pronounce his name. Christoph is known as the Lord of Logos. I mean, I think his biggest claim to fame was he made the logo for the black metal band Emperor. And he's been doing logos since the 80s. And for literally thousands of bands. I think there's two books out of his work and he sorry. In my old school death metal band Dead Conspiracy, who started in 1987, first we're like one of the pioneers in the early death metal scene. Christoph told us he used to write our logo on his peachy, in school. And so when that band reformed in 2012 or something, he redesigned our logo. So that's where we met each other. And since then, he did the logo for Sleepless, and he's done several other for me as well. But yeah, he made the Alpha Destroyer one. I just told him I wanted to show some kind of a motion and kind of a lot of energy, but kind of have an old school metal feel, to it, not the thorny, you can't read it type logo. Um, Nothing against that, but it's not, clearly not the style. So yeah, so Christoph did it, and yeah, he's a good dude. I think he lives in Exeter, England, but he moves around. I think he's a polyglot, speaks like 7 languages. I'm probably insulting him. It's probably more than that, but real bright guy and really great logo designer. So there's that.
Funny thing you mentioned, Christoph. I actually had a friend of mine who knows him, who designed my DJ Metal Craig's Metal Storm logo for my radio gig.
Wait, Christoph did?
Yep.
Oh, well, there you go. Small world, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
friend of mine
Christoph.
hit him up and he designed me a nice logo for my radio gig.
Oh, cool. That's great. Yeah,
I'll have to
man. All
show you
right.
sometime.
Yeah, no, no, definitely. I'll look it up or send it to me. Just hit me up on the socials, But no, that's really cool. Small world, dude. These days. I mean, it used to be it was a lot harder. I think I met him back in like the MySpace days, and so just things took more time. And he actually flew out to Oregon, where I'm from, and wanted to go up to like Mount Hood, where they did filming from The Shining and stuff like that. And photographer, he's out there photographing everything. Like I said, yeah, bright guy and very cool, very talented.
This next one's going to be a good one. How did Straight Into the Ground come about defining the Fastlane's album sound?
Um, uh, well, I mean, I'm as far as defining the sound goes, yeah, that's interesting because I've been asked that question, like what song defines the sound, and I'd actually probably, I no, I mean, I get stuck on that one, but yes, it was the first song, so it really does define the sound because it was starting off with a fast double picking riff, um, and then going into the real heavy chords, very simple, straightforward chords for the chorus. That really did define the sound. I mean, right, because Martin had to sing over the fast part there, and then when it cuts into the chorus, he does, in classic Martin Sweet style, he writes this big ass chorus with beautifully arranged, melodies. I mean, the first time he sent me, because of the time delay between us and Sweden, I wake up in the morning to his emails, so I'll wake up. My wife works at a hospital. She gets up super early. She wakes up. I pick up my phone. I click, and oh, hey, there's an email from Martin. He's got a song. He's calling it Straight into the Grind. I hit play, and I'm like, that chorus came on. I went, fuck, we have a band. That's it. We got a band. So you're right. Yeah. That defined it right there, Um, Also, it's got that really quirky bridge section, the breakdown, where Kelly and Ryan do a lot of, kind of technical stuff. That also kind of defines the sound in a sense because that's the way I write, like kind of, dissonant and disjointed. Like, I love to have a straightforward, cool, big chorus, but I also like to make the music a little more odd. I grew up in rock, Kiss and stuff, but also punk and bands like Voivod, Morbid Angel, and bands that wrote different than most of the bands out there. So that's been always part of my writing style is to be I try to kind of rein it in and keep it straightforward, but my quirkiness comes out, and that's just the way I am. So I think it gives a bit of originality, but that's just me, I guess. It's up for you guys to decide.
Does the band have any band gear endorsements?
Kelly does. Martin probably does. Yeah, I think Martin does too. I'm not sure what they all are though. I know Kelly does work with Spectre basses. He's got a Kelly Lemieux signature model Spectre bass, which if I could afford it, I would love to own one. It's gorgeous. But I do have three Spectre basses here that were Kelly's at one time. I've fallen in love with Spectre basses after meeting Kelly. But there's if they want to endorse us, they can. But yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't really started shopping that kind of thing. It would be cool to have a couple endorsements, but we'll see. Right now, the main focus is distribution for the album.
Funny thing you mentioned distribution for the album. With Fastlane coming out October 31st, 2025, where can the album be pre-ordered or purchased?
It's available right now on the necromanticpress.com website. It's necromanticpress.com. That is, uh, sorry, that's the label website. So you can get Sleepless on there too, and you can pre-order Alpha Destroyer on. I think we have the black vinyl. The black vinyl is on there. The black and red splatter vinyl is on there. The CD is there, and there's two different shirts on there already. Also, we've been slipping embroidered patches into the orders as well. So they haven't started shipping yet, but I've been assembling boxes already. So I've been packaging some cool embroidered patches for the first orders until I sell out of them. But yeah, that's where it's at. It's also on Bandcamp. I launched the Bandcamp pre-order just like a week ago or something like that. And I just heard that the debut will be streamed on Decibel magazine. Will be streaming the full album a couple days before the release, so people will be able to hear the whole thing uh, right before. But you can pre-order it now.
This next one is a but a real good one. Who are the band's musical influences?
Well, I mean that's tough, right, dude? We've been around the block, so you know, I'll tell you. I mean, you really have to list the big ones. Kiss, um, Black Sabbath. I think I remember Rob Zombie saying one time, like, Black Sabbath wrote all the heavy riffs, and then we just do interpretations of them, something like that. Like yeah, kind of. So but I mean, um, for me as the main musical songwriter, as I mentioned before, like bands like Voivod from, if you, I'm sure you know Voivod out of Canada. Those guys have been a huge influence on me. Piggy, their original guitarist, the way he, well, the new guitarist does too, but the way he wrote with like 7 and 9 chords and just odd kind of jazz chords in his structuring, but they still kept this thrashy feel. I always loved that. I was like, oh, there really isn't any limits to how you can go about writing. And then, I mean, bands like Van Halen, like how the hell did they write that? I just realized the other day, how did I not notice in all my years on this planet that Van Halen almost never used a second guitar track? Like, in metal, we put 8,000 tracks, everybody's more tracks, heavy, heavy. How did they do that? How did you take a song like The Cradle Will Rock, and play two notes? How do you do that and have it sound so fucking heavy? That's insane to me. Judas Priest, how did they make the Stained Class album so heavy with almost no distortion? Like the distortion level they have is like heart, like that's all attitude. That's all like how you approach playing. So for me, the influence is that. Like it's just how do these bands approach the way they write, and not so much like just the band themselves and their catalog. Like if I get wrapped up in that, I feel like I'll just start copying people. Before I go in the studio to record, I usually listen to Seal or Duran Duran, and that's like a like when you're eating a meal and sometimes they give you like something, a palate cleanser, like some sorbet, and you cleanse your palate, at a nice restaurant before you go to the next course, so you have a fresh feel. I can't listen to Symphony X before I go in to record because I feel like I'm afraid, like a baseball player scratching my nuts, spit 3 times, or like if I listen to Symphony X before I go in the studio or Nevermore, I'm afraid I'll start writing like them. So for me, it's more about like just allowing the music to come into my brain, and whatever it is, if it sounds like the band, then that's what it is. You know, the other guys, like I can't speak for that for them. I mean, I know they came up in the um, um, same type of music I did. Martin and I, when we met, talked about, we were being kids, like lip syncing to Motley Crue. You know what I mean? I'm on my bed singing Live Wire, and that kind of thing. Like just I think we pretty much the same influences. Ryan, our drummer, he's a very big like doomy guy, but he graduated from the jazz program here at Portland State University, studying funk and jazz stuff. So like his favorite, I believe, still his favorite band is Primus. So but and Black Sabbath, that kind of stuff. So his style is very grounded in his technical skills, but with this heavy sloshy approach, which just fits perfectly. So I'm not sure if that totally answers the questions. It'd be hard to list them off. I mean, I could list all day long. I mean, I can't forget, I mean, Slayer, like I mentioned Morbid Angel before, Venom. I love some newer bands like Midnight. Those guys are a killer. I mean, if you mix Venom with Poison Idea, you've got Midnight, in my opinion, and those guys are phenomenal. You know, uh, you know, uh, yeah. I mean, it's hard to say. It's just everything flows in. If it's cool, I use it. It's the Bruce Lee style, right? Like if it's effective, use it, and if it's not, skip it. So I just whatever music resonates with me just kind of locks in my mind.
Couple bands that helped me get going vocally for myself, and I can't do vocals right now. But when I get back to my previous place in a month, and if we set up for another interview sometime in the near future, I'll let you hear my vocals. I learned from DSI, Pathology, Malignancy, Incantation, the old school stuff like Morbid Angel. I learned some King Diamond, Priest, Bruce Dickinson, that kind of stuff.
I'd love to hear it. And actually, see, you just started going down that list, and Merciful Fate is one of my biggest influences. And I was just in Scandinavia. I hung out at Michael Denner's store for like an hour and a half talking shit with him. And I mean, there's just not much cooler than that. Those um, yeah, that's I hope to work with him at some point. I did on the Sleepless, our last album. We had a guest appearance from Sean Peck, if you know Sean, from Cage, Death Dealer, The Three Tremors, but he was in Denner Sherman, and so that was pretty cool. I played the song that Sean co-sang with Kevin Hahn on that Sleepless album, and Michael Denner was totally into it. He's like, "Oh, this is exactly what I like: progressive doom with melodic vocals." So I'm gonna write something. Hopefully, it'll be cool, and maybe we can do a song together at some point. I love collaborations. You mentioned Deicide too. I definitely. I'm more of a Cannibal Corpse guy when it comes to death metal. Like George Fisher is one of my um, favorite vocalists of all time. His ability, his rhythmic cadence is insane for death metal. Death metal is a music that can be very linear. Just sometimes it gets boring to me, and I'm a huge death metal guy. But I was working out yesterday, day before, and I was listening to the Kill album from Cannibal Corpse, and it's just fresh again. Like the way his patterns are, and his ability to use his lows and highs effectively to get emotion. Again, like that's just it's fucking mind blowing. Um, I love Glenn Benton's work too. I really liked what he did with Vital Remains, and but Deicide, yeah, Deicide is pretty amazing too. I love the Incinerate Him album. That one really kind of blew my mind. It was the first album I think they did that had a lot of odd time signatures. There's at the time when it came out, I didn't really understand what they were doing, and later I was like, oh, okay, this is like 7/8 and all these just odd times, and I wasn't really used to it with death metal, but they did it really well. So yeah, I'd love to hear the vocal stuff.
That leaves us with three more for the interview. We got time to fit them in, and then the
Yeah,
station IDs. What are the band's immediate music career goals?
I mean, one, get this album out and make sure they can get in the hands of fans. Distribution is like the toughest nut to crack these days, and without working with a major label, it can be tough. I, we've secured some pretty good distribution now, so we're working with that now. Two is playing live. So, I mean, there's a higher likelihood that we'll go to Europe or Scandinavia and play, just to be there where Martin's at. Plus, it would be fun. Um, but he'd also like to get over here. So, I just did an interview the other day. We were talking about uh, playing at the Whiskey. So, if we can get out to LA, that would be cool too. And then third is another album. I mean, this train hasn't even slowed down, dude. I mean, sorry, we actually worked out a cover tune, which I'm not gonna disclose yet, but it's cool. We'll see how it comes out. Whenever you're doing a cover, man, it's got to be done just right. So, I, uh, so far it's sounding just like I want it to. But aside from that, I've already tracked guitars for four more songs for the next album. Like I can't stop writing for this band, and I need to take a break and write for another Sleepless album here soon. But stylistically, they can cross over. Sleepless is a little more on the doomy side, and as keys and things like that. So it's a little different, but a lot of it, when I write something heavy, I'm like, oh man, I can just nowadays I can hear Martin singing on it. So when I'm writing it, I hear his melodies and I'm like, oh, this has to be Alpha Destroyer. So yes, we're already in about 5 songs towards the next album. Just guitar tracks, drums. We're gonna do track 3 of the drum, or sorry, we're gonna track 4 songs on drums next week. So yeah, that's it. So those would be the 3. Get this album out, get out and play live, get the next album going.
Please give some guitar tips or advice for starting out guitarists.
Write your own music. One, definitely write your own music. I mean, I just felt like so many of my friends like back in high school, they didn't ever get past like playing at backyard barbecues because they just focused on learning like, all of Randy Rose's stuff, which is that's killer. I can't do that. So but if you're not writing your own music, if you're not exploring your own creative process, and more than anything, I think people are afraid of that. Like they're afraid, hey, if I write music and it sucks, people are gonna laugh at me, kind of thing. Like I don't want people to not like what I tried. And you cannot be afraid of that. You pick up any instrument, it's meant to be written. Sheet music was not sheet music was not written before music, you know. The classical composers wrote the music or played the music, and then writing it down was a way to capture it so someone else could play it later. But the creativity all comes from inside. So that is kind of my musical spirituality answer. And then the brass tacks, which I still am working on, is learn how to play like Malcolm Young. I mean, every one of us, so many people I talk to are like, yeah, man, I played, in thrash bands for 30 years and I tried to play an AC/DC tune and can't do it. If you got to be able to play like on guitar, you got to be able to play like Malcolm Young. That's it. You got to be able to express those chords and make it have a groove, make it have a pocket, and then you can utilize that in every other style of music. But that's something you have to do. And that came from a lesson Kevin Hahn lecturing me in the studio one day, like years ago. I think I was working on some of the first stuff for Sleepless, and he's like, dude, you need to go home and learn all the AC/DC tunes because you're always hurrying. You're always in a hurry. I'm like, yeah, but I can play death metal since '86. Like, yeah, so it's who's going to get there fastest. It's a race in that style, which I love doing, and I still do it. But yeah, you just I feel like that is like a huge lesson, and for me it was. I really think, yeah, I think that's important. If you've ever seen Paul Gilbert, when he teaches, like he doesn't teach scales. Here's how you do it, and here's the modes. He teaches like a guitar riff. Here's a riff, and then here's a little lead thing, and then that you build off of that. So that's the way he teaches. Is you're teaching from a writing perspective right away. Like here's how we rock out, and then here's how you throw some lead stuff in. So he gets it. Anyway, hope that answers that question.
Well, I'm about a quest for you today. Thank you very much for your time in this interview, and thank you to Call PR for the interview. We're going to get on to the station IDs now. The first one is, hey, this is Eric of Alpha Destroyer, and you're listening to Mangled Music Radio.
Hey, this is Eric from Alpha Destroyer, and you're listening to Mangled Music Radio.
And the second one's for Craig's Metal Storm. You can come up with whatever you want in it.
Whatever I want.
Yeah, like, yeah, like
um,
come up with a cool idea that you can think of.
I don't know what's cool. Um,
Or you can just do the default like we did with the Mangled Music Radio one too.
and this is going to be for what was for it was for
Craig's Metal Storm.
Craig's Metal Storm. Is this one the radio one
These are both for the radio show. One's for my
for the
personal
radio
show.
show? Yeah,
The other one's for my station.
yeah. Oh,
Second one would go, hey, this is Eric from Alpha Destroyer.
yeah.
And you're listening to Craig's Metal Storm.
All right. This is Eric from Alpha Destroyer, and you're here crushing it with us on Craig's Metal Storm.
Cool. Thank you very much to Climber PR for the interview. Thank you very much for your time, Eric. You have yourself a wonderful rest of your day.
Hey, dude, thank you so much, Craig. We'll talk to you soon. Feel free to
Okay.
hit me up on social media.
Yeah, I will. Talk to you soon, buddy.
All right,
Bye.
buddy. Take care.